The following is a paid advertisement. The views expressed are the sole responsibility of the advertiser.
Put the power back in your hands. This is Behind the Law with attorney Justin Clark.
Welcome to Behind the Law. Happy weekend for you. I have a great show lined up, by the way. Michaela Nichols is missing today. She is on assignment, so I figured I'd dress however I wanted, because she criticizes me anyway. I figured, why not go casual? But that does not mean we're not going to have a great show, because we are. We're going to start off today with Grant Maloy. He is the clerk of court in Seminole County. You might have read in the news that we've had an influx of cases filed. How are we dealing with it? How is it slowing down the court systems? Also, you might have had an accident, an auto accident, and the other person said that you were at fault, but you know that they were at fault. How do you figure it out? Who figures it out? For the first time ever, Anthony Fairbanks will join us. He's an accident reconstructionist. Tell us how we really piece together what happened in an automobile accident. A very important piece of your auto accident case is who is at fault, who is liable. It makes all the difference in the world. You will not want to miss a single second of the program today. Quick break. When we return, Behind the Law continues.
Your debt does not have to control your life. You have the power to potentially lower or even eliminate your debt. I'm attorney Justin Clark. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your financial life. Here we are, Michaela and I, one of my favorite places in all of Central Florida. One of my favorite things to do is axe throwing. It's so much fun. I love it. There's only one place we go though. Yeah. Obviously, Stumpy's Hatchet House. Its owners are here, Matthew, Estella. How are you guys?
Doing good.
Axe throwing in general, some people have never tried it. Why should we?
Why not? I mean, it's a great time. We have a great place here, wonderful staff. We have a wonderful beer selection. It's just good times all around.
And this place feels unbelievably homey to me. It feels cozy. It feels like I'm transported into a cabin in North Carolina or Montana or something. How did you create this?
Well, it came with a lot of hard work, some busted fingers, and a lot of trial and error. Yeah. We a lot of the natural woodwork in here. Actually, all the natural woodwork was done by myself and one other person.
And a lot of people don't think about corporate events. They think corporate events. Oh, what restaurant am I going to rent out? What ballroom? What a great place to have a corporate event, a corporate meeting.
Yeah, it's we have TVs in here, so we do have ways that if you want to do a presentation of any kind, we can accommodate that. We have a PA system, so if you even want to do a tournament with a nice, let's get this thing going and rile up the crowd, you can. We even let it to where we have a free jukebox that you can come in, pick any music you like. It's great. You have a good time.
Out. If you haven't been axe throwing yet, come to Stumpy's Hatchet House right now, or if you have a meeting coming up, Stumpy's Hatchet House is a place for you. Have you been threatened by the IRS? You are not helpless. You have the power to fight wage garnishments and fight levies on your accounts. I'm Justin Clark. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your financial life.
Welcome back to the show. Very pleased to be joined by a good friend of the show. He is the clerk of court in Seminole County. Grant Maloy is here. Grant, how are you, sir?
Doing great, Justin. Thanks for having me on.
I got to tell you, and I do live in Seminole County, so maybe I'm a little biased here. I think our constitutional officers in Seminole County are the best in the state. We've got you, David Johnson, Sheriff Lima, fantastic, J.R. Kroll, of course, Chris Anderson. I mean, those constitutional officers, pretty amazing, wouldn't you say?
Well, I would say it's a great team. We work together well. When I got elected to this office, my goal was to make the customer service like Chick-fil-A and make the website work like Amazon. So find things easy, help people out, navigate through the legal system, get them their information they need. Help people out as much as possible.
We've been reading a lot about this unbelievable influx of cases over the last 2 weeks. What in the world is this about?
You know, the state legislators were making a change to liability laws, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with in your line of work. And the unintended consequences are that it caused a lot of attorneys to work overtime to send in their cases to us. Whereas we normally on a month get about 225 circuit civil cases that include these liability type accident, negligence, those type of cases. So we usually get about 225 a month. In the 1 week we got 1,415. So every case got sent to us, and other clerks throughout the state of Florida. Caused a huge workload problem. The good thing is, thanks to our technology improvements, great team. We got most of those processed within 24 hours.
Really?
Right. But there's going to be a backlog now of civil cases. The judges are concerned. They were asking for the stats on it. It's unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this, and nobody really has in the past. This level of workload.
So how likely are the courts to be delayed over the next few months now?
That's a great question. I'm assuming on those type of cases, there's going to be a problem trying to process all those through. How fast the attorneys want to work on those is a question, because I think a lot of them just got those in before the law changed.
Right.
So some of them might not be in a hurry, but there's also the backlog of summonses that we have to send out, and then other ancillary follow-up documents that get sent in. So I'm not exactly sure how the judges, I don't think anybody really knows how they're going to handle it right now, because we haven't seen this before.
We'll leave that in the capable hands of Chief Judge Rex Edler, I guess.
There we go,
she's
yes.
fantastic. I have to say that, I guess, because I'm a lawyer, but I actually mean that. She's the best.
And she's right on top of it. She was asking us for numbers right away,
really?
so
Good.
she could prepare as to how they're going to balance this out.
Now, her husband, Jason, on the other hand, I don't know. We'll talk about him. I'm just kidding. I love Jason and Judge. Now, there are people at home, though, who have legal issues that come up, of course, and lawyers aren't always the cheapest person to hire. Lawyers can get expensive. We understand that. You've created an amazing program in Seminole County for people who need a lawyer, who can't afford a lawyer. Tell me what you created.
Right. We put in about 2 years ago a low-cost legal clinic. So for $15 for a 15-minute segment, you can go up to an hour at a time. You can schedule an appointment with our office if you contact SeminoleClerk.org. Or call us at 407-665-4300. You can set up an appointment with a member of the Orange County Bar Association on basic civil questions. Might be family law, might be evictions, could be even some simple probate questions. But often you just need help filling out a form. And
Right.
the clerk's office, as the clerks, we're not allowed to give legal advice. But here you can make an appointment with an attorney who can give you that legal advice. And often it's just very simple questions where you don't need to retain an attorney for a big case. You just have some simple questions about forms. It's been very popular. We also provide that in Spanish as well, if there's Spanish-speaking people that need to get some legal help. And right now it's all online. We do that on Wednesdays. And we keep that calendar pretty full. So if people are interested in getting help, we can provide that.
Do you need other lawyers to help with that, or are you set with that?
We contracted through the Orange County Bar Association, and we encourage attorneys that do want to help do this to contact them and work through that organization to provide the services.
I've heard a lot about property fraud, and my title got stolen from my house. You hear these advertisements about companies that are protecting against that as well. You created a pretty awesome program to help people make sure that they are not victims of this fraud.
Yes, and thanks for mentioning that. It's the property fraud alert system we have. As clerk of the court, we have several different functions. It's not all just courts. It's also all the property records, mortgages, deeds, subdivision plats. All that information gets recorded with our office. There's a free system. You just go to SeminoleClerk.org. You can sign up, and your name, it's totally free. You don't have to pay this so much a month or so much a year. And whenever something is recorded in Seminole County, we'll send you a link to that document so you can verify that it's authentic, that it's a legitimate document. If it's not a legitimate document, if it is fraudulent, you can take steps to have that removed from the official record. Most clerks' offices, I think most of your bigger counties do this now. Orange County Comptroller does it. There's about 22 counties in the state that do this. We're happy to provide this service for free, and it's a great insurance, so to speak, especially if your house is paid off. Those are the type of homes that are most susceptible to some fraud.
Now, the Seminole County setup is a bit unique in that we have a criminal courthouse and a civil courthouse. It's two separate buildings a few miles apart. How unique is that statewide?
There's several of the larger counties do have several courthouses. I know Brevard has, I think, 3. Orange just has 1. The good news is in Seminole County, there's a project right now to move everything over to the newer courthouse on 1792 to the criminal courthouse. That should be completed in about 2 to 3 years. And all the court services will be located right there. It should make it a lot easier. Also, if you're coming, there was to our offices for jury duty at the criminal courthouse, or you're doing business, the county just opened a parking lot that's free. That's right there on Esslinger Boulevard. Also at our office, a couple years ago, we put in these walk-up windows. A lot of services you can get without having to go into the courthouse and go through the security steps.
Yeah.
You can just walk up to the window, pay a traffic ticket. We're also going to start accepting notice of commencements there. You can make a payment on a payment plan. There's a lot of different things you can do right at the windows.
We probably shouldn't talk about this, but how often has it come up in the county that, oh my gosh, this civil courthouse lakefront, that property value is pretty incredible, I think, at this point. Does that ever come up?
That comes up. I think it probably was a higher value before it was surrounded with water for
Yeah.
a month and a half. We had to close it for 6 weeks just due to the flooding after the hurricane. I tell you, Sanford's busting. You go down at nighttime,
Sure
it is packed. You can hardly find a parking space. So hopefully it'll be redeveloped to something that is beneficial to the public.
The clerk's office performs so many other tasks, though, for people. What all do you do for the people of Seminole County?
Well, there's 5 general things we do. We are the independent auditor. We also do guardianship audits now, which has been very helpful. We provide some information to judges where they can take a look and decide if they're going to remove a guardian from a case. They can see if there's fraud going on. We do that. So we have the audit part, we have the property part, which we talked about, we have the court part, but we're also the commission record, keeper of the record for the commissioners. Anything that goes on with the county commission, any history, any votes, we have that information. And we're also, as I mentioned, just there's 1,000 different things we do. Everything from helping people with payment plans, working with law enforcement, working with judges. So it's quite a complex job,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of fun. And really, people don't realize how important it is. The part I just forgot was the comptroller part, which is
Right.
we pay all the county bills, pay the we fund the sheriff's office, have over $900 million of investments right now. So it's kind of a complex job. We just won an award for our popular annual financial report. You can get that at SeminoleClerk.org as well. We're trying to make taxpayer money transparent so you know what's going on with your tax dollars.
I'm going on a cruise here in a few days and went looking for my passport and couldn't find it. It was hidden. It disappeared, miraculously. I didn't know that you did passports as well, and I might have dropped your name. Okay, I did, but I got in and out like that.
Well, that's good to hear. See, I try to be like Chick-fil-A.
Exactly.
Yes, we do
just
passports at our record center on East Lake Mary Boulevard. We do several hundred a month. It's a very popular service. You can make an appointment for that as well. We also provide photos if you need a photo for your passport. But we work very closely with the State Department for a new passport initiation process. They do annual audits. We always score 100% on our processes.
You're doing a great job, honestly. I've seen you from the time you ran for that office, and you've really changed things, and certainly all for the better. Grant Maloy, keep up the good work, buddy. When are you running again?
Oh, that's in 2 years.
2 years.
So
All
I'll be
right, so we have
calling
a little
you.
bit. Oh, yeah,
Yes.
you have our full support, of course. Grant Maloy, Clerk of Court in Seminole County. Here's what we're going to do: a quick break. When we return, fascinating subject: accident. Right? We talk about auto accidents a lot, but we don't often talk about reconstructing an accident to see who was at fault. It's just ahead as Behind the Law continues.
Have you been threatened by the IRS? You are not helpless. You have the power to fight wage garnishments and fight levies on your accounts. I'm Justin Clark. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your financial life. If you own a house, it is your most valuable possession. You need to know what windows you have. Why don't you think about your windows? Do you have any idea that your windows really dictate your electricity bill every single month? There's one place to turn in this community for windows in your house, and it's certainly Renewal by Anderson. Dan Brigman joins me. You're a family to me at this point. Let's be honest. I love you. I love your family. But the Renewal by Anderson family is what makes you so trustworthy. The culture there, it's a family. Dan.
Absolutely, Justin. And by the way, glad to be here. And yeah, it's our people, it's our process, it's our product, but it's our people more than anything. When we come out to your house, it's all about you. It's about, we're going to treat your home as if it's our own. We're going to do the same with your family.
I put a QR code on the screen for you, and Dan is offering you an unbelievable deal today. If you go to the QR code, you're going to send an email. What do they get?
Man, you buy one window, get 40% off the next, almost unheard of. We're excited.
Unbelievable. And then you talk about the electricity bill, because windows, I don't think people understand how important the windows are to the electricity bill every month, and the electricity bills are skyrocketing.
It's extremely important, and glass in your house takes up over 25% of the square footage of your wall space in your home. So that's the equivalent of one full wall in your house. Imagine sun hitting that all day long and all of that heat coming in.
A lot of people think window replacement would be very expensive. Sometimes we can do it for free. When you think about monthly payment over time, no interest, the money you save on your electricity bill, it's free.
Absolutely. By the time you put all the factors together, the energy savings, the curb appeal, the resale value, all of these things just add up. And then you got the financing that we have going on right now. Zero interest, 2.9, things that you just don't see anymore.
It's unbelievable. If you own a house, thank you, Dan, as always. If you own a house, you need to send us a message right now. You will not be disappointed. Renewal by Anders. Welcome back to the show, and we talk about auto accidents here quite a bit. You see a lot of advertisements in this market for automobile accident attorneys, maybe the most saturated market really in America when it comes to that. But what you don't see oftentimes is when there is an accident, you don't know who's at fault. Or a lot of times you have an accident and you know the other person's at fault, but they blame you for the accident. How do you prove who's at fault? Sometimes you have to go to this reconstruction of the actual accident to see who's at fault. Anthony Fairbanks joins me. How are you, buddy? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
A real police officer, of course, but then you started Delta V Consulting as well, where you do accident reconstruction. When do you get called in?
Well, it's usually years after an incident has happened, sometimes 3, 4, 5 years after it. So there's not a lot of physical evidence that may exist at the scene. So it makes reconstructing it somewhat challenging.
So you've done real police work. You've obviously shown up as a police officer at the scene of an accident. That happens pretty quickly, and you're not necessarily going with science at that point. How does, at the scene, a police officer determine who's at fault, and is that always right?
It isn't always right, unfortunately. You have to make decisions based upon usually what you're told. Sometimes the physical evidence will communicate how vehicles are moving, the speed at which they're moving, and things like that. But it's different. It's more challenging because you don't have the access to some of the tools you would as a reconstructionist.
Back when I was a child and I wanted to learn about the pyramids, I had to look in the Encyclopedia Britannica. You know, that was in my parents' house. Now we obviously have the internet. Technology. Technology has come such a long way. How has technology changed accident reconstruction?
It's changed a lot. I've been a reconstructionist for about 13 years and a police officer for going on 24 years. Yeah. And in that time, when I initially got into the field, we were measuring the scenes where physical evidence was, say the beginning or end of a skid mark, or where a gouge mark occurred, or where a vehicle's final rest was. We were doing that with tape measures, and we were using a method called triangulation. Not exactly accurate. When we were trying to locate something, we might get it within 6 inches roughly. The field somewhat evolved to rough measurements with tools called a total station, where you'd measure from one point to another, which was fine, but it was very tedious and time consuming, and you might get 300 or 400 points in a scene. These days we used laser scanners, like the Faro laser scanner or the ones that Leica makes, to measure millions of points. So we can get a tremendous amount of data that we can use not only to create a two-dimensional diagram, but also a 3D digital environment of the scene.
Yeah. As a police officer, a first responder, do you ever get desensitized when you come up on an accident scene and things are just bad?
No, not entirely, but you do have to make an effort to separate yourself. There was one event that was fairly recent where an elderly woman was crossing the roadway and she was hit by a cement truck, and I won't describe it, but it was very graphic, and that was difficult. But it's important in order to be impartial and to make accurate decisions to remove yourself.
And a lot of people watching at home right now who have been in an accident and they know it wasn't their fault. They just know it wasn't. It could be the light was green and they're saying it was red. All sorts of different variables could have happened. They know it wasn't their fault. But once the insurance company on the other side has in their mind that it wasn't their insured's fault, they're just going to fight and say, no, we're not liable, we're not paying you anything. How does that process work of getting them to overturn that decision? What do you provide to help us prove that it actually was not my fault?
Sometimes just revisiting the scene is enough to gather evidence and to see whether or not the way the vehicles were described as in the collision as having occurred. But I also use a tool. It's a tool that downloads the event data recorder, which provides a lot of information on how the vehicle is performing, how fast it was going, what position the steering wheel was in, which can be used to refute what they're being accused of.
Who hires you mostly?
Mostly it's attorneys. I've been working with the Justice Administrative Commission for some time, and so I work with people that are indigent for cost. But more and more so, I'm getting involved in the civil field, and we're individuals who, there wasn't a person killed, but maybe somebody was seriously injured, or maybe they were just accused of something that they weren't at fault for, and they'll come to me and ask me to go through the reconstruction process to show that they weren't at fault.
How long does it normally take? The whole reconstruction process, is this a few day thing? Does this take several months? How does that process work?
It depends on the complexity of the case, how much discovery is involved. Naturally, in a fatal or serious bodily injury case, there's a lot of information to go through, a lot of reports, videos, statements that have been written. But in some of the civil cases, you just have a long-form crash report. So going through that and re-interviewing witnesses, revisiting the scene, it can be a much shorter process, maybe a few weeks to maybe a few months.
Delta V, how'd you come up with that name?
Well, Delta V is something that we use in collision reconstruction, and it describes the change in velocity of an object. So that's always involved in the collision.
Yeah, I got to tell you, and we have a lot of lawyers obviously that watch this program. If you have a case and liability is in question, think about, and especially if you have a big policy there that you're going after, think about the difference your case and the difference it's going to make for your client to bring someone like Tony in, who's going to do this reconstruction, and you can say, here, insurance company, are you sure it's not your client's fault? Because I have all this science right here that's saying it is. This can make hundreds of thousands of dollars in difference in the case that you have for your client. Is it going to be an extra expense for you? Sure. Is it a huge expense when you weigh out how it's going to help your client's case? Absolutely not. I'll connect you with Tony right now, 321-282-1055. So, being a police officer, obviously there's joy in that as well, that you're helping people. It's a whole different type of joy though on this consulting side of things. Tell me about the differences.
Well, there have been a number of cases I've worked on that law enforcement, they did the best they could, but sometimes the training just wasn't adequate, or maybe they just simply made a mistake, where an individual has been accused of a crime and then unfortunately convicted of it, where I can come in and show that what mistakes were made and either help mitigate it or remove responsibility from them. There was one event where a driver was driving on a darkly lit county road over a hill, and on the other side of the hill was a bicyclist. Completely dark. The bicyclist had dark clothing, had no lights on his bike, and as this motorist came over the crest of the roadway, the bicyclist turned in front of him and tragically was killed. Unfortunately, the trooper that investigated didn't acknowledge a number of these facts. The fact that the driver simply couldn't see this person until it was just too late. This crash was going to happen regardless. Ultimately, this person was convicted and was sentenced to prison. They withdrew that plea. The case was reheard, and they got probation for the event instead of the 18 years that they had previously been sentenced to.
Unbelievable. How dangerous are the streets of Central Florida for pedestrians and bicyclists, do you think?
It's tremendously. As a law enforcement officer, that's makes up the majority of the fatal collisions that we involve.
Really?
We investigate, yeah. It's really it's one of those things that the pedestrians and bicyclists, they're at risk, they're vulnerable. Unlike somebody who's protected by a motor vehicle, when a pedestrian is struck, it's usually pretty bad.
Got it. Awesome. Anthony Fairbanks, keep up the good work, buddy. You're doing a lot of great things for people out there and for lawyers out there who need your help, and you do it at a very reasonable rate, which is great. And you're really changing the cases and really getting the truth out there, which at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, because the investigation there on scene by the police department is a quick one. You have the time and the technology and the resources to make sure we get it right. It's almost an instant replay type scenario. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Anthony Fairbanks, Delta V Consulting. Give him a call if you're a lawyer, if you need help on your case. Here's what we're going to do. One last quick break. When we return, we will wrap it up with what did we learn?
Are you worried about your student loan payments? I don't blame you. The great news for you is now we have more options than ever. Go to our website, youhavepower.com, to find out what options may exist for you and your student loans.
If you own a house, you can imagine the roof is probably the most important part of your house. You see a leak, this is a very bad day for you. We have a lot of bad roofing companies out there. We call them storm chasers, in fact. Universal Roofing Contracting joins me. Justin, Corey, you guys are not storm chasers. You've been around for many, many years in this market, and really the best in the business, and Hall of Fame guest for me as well. What I've done, though, is I put a QR code on the screen for you. All you have to do is scan your phone on the QR code, and we're getting 15% off free roof inspection. Tell me about this.
Yeah, so it's a 15% off a full roof replacement. We do offer free inspections. What you do is you just give us a call, schedule an appointment. We will show up on time as scheduled, provide a free full point inspection, share photos with you, and let you know exactly what you're looking at, what your options are, and decide which path to walk you down. But ultimately, we're going to approach roofing whatever serves you the best.
A lot of people are in this black hole of fighting with their insurance company, their attorney, the public adjuster, whatever, and literally have a tarp on their roof for 2-3 years sometimes while everyone fights it out. The roof is important. If you don't address your roof issue now, damage can occur in your house. What can happen?
Oh, I mean, mold is probably one of the biggest. You know, I mean, we have homeowners that have to move out of their property for months at a time just to get the mitigation done of the mold. You know, so if you're seeing any of those brown spots in the ceiling, if you see a missing shingle in the yard, granule loss, any of those are great reasons for us to come do an inspection and kind of get ahead of that, making sure that you're not going to have those kind of issues.
When it comes to roofing, I think that trust is maybe the most important part of hiring a great roofing company. Why do I trust Universal Roofing Contracting?
Family owned, veteran owned, 3 decades in your own backyard, community roofer. Any other reasons are good as the next one. It's just we serve the community. We wear our consultant's hat first, but we're just there to serve and take care of you the best way.
Football team coming to town, I heard?
Yeah. The Orlando Guardians. We just became the official roofing partner of the new Orlando Guardians XFL team. We're super happy about that. Looking forward to a great season.
I love you guys. Do yourself a favor. Need a new roof? There's only one place. It's Universal Roof and Contracting. And as always, today we wrap it up with what did we learn? What did I learn today? I learned that I can dress however I want to dress when Michaela's not here. No one is in my ear yelling at me to dress any better. I learned my executive producer, Philip Deems, is too scared to co-host the show with me when Michaela's not here. That was him in the background. But I also learned Grant Maloy. I already knew this. Grant is a fantastic clerk, in my opinion, the best in the state, doing such a great job. And I should know because I'm in Seminole County Courthouse all the time. He's doing a fantastic job. I also learned that accident reconstruction might be the most important part of an automobile accident case, especially one where liability is in question. And there are things that you can do, and it's frustrating. If you know you weren't at fault, and they're saying that you were at fault, and they're denying your claim, there are things that you can do to prove that that accident was not your fault. Special thanks to our amazing crew here. Mostly, though, thank you for joining us here every single weekend. We'll see you again next week for more Behind the Law.
The proceeding was a paid advertisement. The views expressed were the sole responsibility of the advertiser.